Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we are talking Week 7 of the NFL running back start and sit. So hopefully this helps you guys out. If you haven't already, check out our other start and sit videos for Week 7 as well to get you guys ready for this week. We are getting closer and closer to halfway through the season, so it is creeping up. Obviously, we're going to start getting to thicker and thicker bye weeks, and hopefully we've got some lesser injuries that are going on, but we do have some players coming back, so some great news. We're going to jump right into this week. Like I said, Week 7, it's here. So we're talking running back position. Now, all of these start and sits are going to be based off of full PPR and half PPR. Of course, if you have a standard league, hit us up in the comments down below. I'd love to help you guys out with that one. Now, these are your obvious starts at the running back position. Got a decent list here. I think these running backs should be in your lineup, whether it's a matchup proof or, again, they're just got a great matchup this week for you. Now, the first running back I want to mention as a good start this week is going to be Brian Robinson Jr. versus the Panthers. A lot will depend on if he plays. Obviously, he's dealing with an injury and nothing has been really confirmed if he's going to, but got to pay attention to the news. Now, I love this matchup for Robinson against the Panthers, though. Panthers are allowing 23 points a game and just allowed over 100 yards to two backs last week against the Falcons. Now, do I expect Eckler to have some value? I do think there's some there, but I like Brian Robinson a lot more. The Panthers have allowed 12 touchdowns on the ground this season, so I think both Brian Robinson and Eckler can score, and I think, again, Brian Robinson's in a perfect scenario to have some success. Another running back I really like this week is going to be Tony Pollard versus the Bills. Bills just allowed Breece Hall to have his best performance last week so far this season, where he finished with over 100 yards on the ground. And the Bills are allowing almost 26 points to the running back position. And a lot of it obviously is going to be on the receiving aspect, where Pollard does shine. Pollard is a good receiving back. He has not been as successful this season in the Titans offense, but is still a really good receiving back. Pollard's on a nice streak right now where he's finished with a touchdown per game in the last 2 games, and currently right now averaging 17 points a game. So Pollard should absolutely be in your lineup this week. I really love his matchup. Another running back I like this week is going to be Trey Sermon versus the Dolphins. A lot to pay attention here. I have Trey Sermon as an option because right now, Jonathan Taylor may miss. We'll see how things play out, but there's a chance he misses this game. Now, Sermon is also hurt, so you've got to pay attention to that, which puts you into Goodson as far as an option. But I like Trey Sermon if he does end up playing and practicing. There's a really good chance that he does. The matchup is great for him against the Dolphins. I do think the Colts will try to utilize him. Anthony Richardson should be back as well. And there's a lot of injuries, unfortunately, on the Dolphins side, where I think that success can really help Sermon this week. I do think he gets a touchdown if he does play. I like this matchup. And the last running back I really like this week, again, another running back dealing with injuries, is going to be Ramondre Stevenson versus the Jaguars. Now, Jacksonville isn't known for giving up a lot of yards on the ground, though, but they do allow a rushing touchdown per game. They're also allowing 6 receptions per game as well. Now, if Stevenson does play and healthy, which we're hoping, he should be a big factor in this one. Again, helping Drake May take some of the pressure off of him, become a safety valve as well in the passing aspect. And before missing last week, Stevenson had 19 points in week 5, and then also he averaged 19 points in week 1 and 2. So pretty much besides the fumbling situation that he's got going on, Stevenson should be a lock this week if he does end up playing. Now, jumping into the sits part, this is a running back I'm not crazy about. It's going to be Jordan Mason versus the Chiefs. I understand the name. I get it, but let me explain. The Chiefs have allowed the second fewest yards to the running back position this season so far, keeping them to 3.1 yards a carry, and haven't allowed a rushing touchdown since week 3. Chiefs are also coming off of a bye, which I think plays a nice little factor. Mason is dealing with an injury, and he will be used often if playing. So I understand why it's hard to sit him, but all of these backs I'm about to name have struggled to reach more than 13 fantasy points and more than 46 yards on the ground. Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, J.K. Dobbins, and Alvin Kamara. Those are 4 top tier backs this season that have all been 13 points or less against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not like this is like, oh, Jordan Mason. No, this is a game that I have some worries for Jordan Mason this week because I do think there's a chance he does struggle. Now, another running back I'm not crazy about this week is going to be Rachaad White versus the Ravens. White is on the brink of losing his starting job at this point with the emergence of Bucky Irving and then the amazing outing of Sean Tucker that last week. Ravens haven't allowed more than 46 yards to a back on the ground and also only allow an average of 2 receptions per game to the running back position. So if Rachaad White isn't effective, which he hasn't been all season, still dealing with an injury, so we'll see if he ends up even playing. This game, it looks to be a competition realistically between who is going to pass better, what receivers are going to step up between obviously Mike Evans and Zay Flowers and Godwin and such, because I do think this is going to be a game that the Bucs are not going to be running and they're going to have to be passing against a really terrific Baltimore offense and team. So Rachaad White, I'm sorry. At this point, you may not even be worth stashing on your team. Another running back I'm not crazy about this week is going to be Josh Jacobs versus the Texans. The game between the Texans and Packers definitely looked to be a shootout, which could put Jacobs out of game script. The Texans were already a solid against the run, only allowing 78 yards a game or less and just under 3 receptions per game to the running back position. At this point of the season, the best Jacobs really has been so far is really a flex play, maybe an RB2 depending what your roster looks like. Right now, Jacobs is really only averaging about 10 to 11 points a game. So at this point, if you're going to play him, put him in your flex maybe, but I don't have anything higher expectations than that. Another running back I don't like this week is going to be James Conner versus the Chargers. The Chargers defense actually has done a great job at stuffing the run, only allowing 9.7 points per game to the running back one, and have only allowed 1 touchdown so far this season on the ground. Now, James Conner has been pretty solid this year, averaging 13 points a game, which is a great flex play, with a little bit of RB2 upside. The concern in this matchup is that if he doesn't score, his floor is more like 8 points a game. Conner has been able to get into the end zone, which has been fantastic, but if he's not, his receiving aspect is really not quite there. He's not a big piece in the passing game, and a lot of it actually is starting to go to DeMarcado, who last week alone saw 53% snap share and was definitely used in the receiving aspect. So he's becoming more of the receiving back than James Conner. James Conner is that pound and ground type of player. I don't really like this matchup for him this week. Now my sleepers for this week, I've got Tank Bigsby versus the Patriots, and I've got Alexander Madison versus the Rams. Now these are guys that are a little bit of the RB2 on their team respectively. Now there's a chance that Etienne does miss some time, which puts Bigsby in a starting role. So again, he's definitely a sought after running back, but I like both of their matchups this week. So those are my start sits and sleepers for week 7 of the NFL running back edition. Now make sure you guys check out my other start and sit videos as well. If you guys do have questions for your lineups, hit me up in the comments down below. Maybe I got trade questions. I'm gonna have a great trade and buy low, sell high type of video coming out later this week. And again, if you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, hit that like button, and I'll check you guys out next time.